Volvo wagon. For some reason, over several generations, it has attracted a weird combination of enthusiasts and soccer moms. But with this new V90 wagon, Volvo is clearly aiming to make everyone interested. As you can see, with Thor's hammer headlights, massive wheels, and a shockingly good interior, Volvo is clearly trying to win the wagon game. This is not a car. This is a piece of beautiful rolling Scandinavian furniture. The Volvo V90 Inscription, I know that it's an inscription because of the inscription of the word inscription written on the headrests. This is an absolutely lovely vehicle. This is about what I imagine it would be like rolling around in Scandinavian art. The interior of this car is absolutely stunning. We've got real walnut on the dashboard, real bare open pore walnut. I grew up in households with Scandinavian furniture, Scandinavian art. My grandparents had Volvos, my parents had Volvos. I've always been surrounded by Volvos, so this car means a lot to me. And the fact that the dashboard wood reminds me exactly of my grandparents' furniture, that's important to me, actually. It kind of brings everything on home. Under the hood of this car, we have a 4-cylinder engine. It is supercharged and turbocharged, so it makes 316 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. It has a very satisfying transmission as well. The sound that this car makes on an upshift reminds me of a Golf R with a DSG box or an Alfa Romeo 4C, the way that it kind of barks on the upshift. It's a lovely growl from the exhaust, and actually you can hear it from the outside, but inside it's kept quiet, very refined. Now, how is it to drive? Well, in terms of driver engagement, there's not really that much there, I'll be honest. Even in the dynamic mode, which stiffens up the steering a little bit, you get a little bit of weight, but I can tell that it's not real weight. I can tell that it's completely artificial. There's a little bit of feedback depending on how you're going over a bump, but otherwise, really not that much at all. Our all-wheel drive tester came with the optional Vision package, $2,000, the Convenience package, $1,500, and the Climate package with graphical heads-up display, $2,300. Rear air ride suspension and active chassis for $2,350, diamond cut wheels for $900, and the Bowers & Wilkins sound system for $3,250. So this car comes to a $72,825 before freight and PDI and all of that lovely stuff, which makes this an expensive car. The question is it worth it? Short answer, yes. Everything feels incredibly well built in this car. The shift lever makes a nice dull thunk when you select a gear, when you pop it over to manually shift. The doors just have this nice whoomp to them when you close them. Center console and the glove box is solid. Steering wheel, solid. Everything is solid. This car is very, very, very well made. Of course, that doesn't mean that it was without its issues for me. For some reason, I can't find a comfortable position that I sit in this seat. I must have a larger behind, I think, because I'm having a hard time sitting in car seats lately. Maybe I need to go to the gym. Now, I always have a bolster on the side digging in, and if I move the part under my knees goes out any further, if I move that out, there's like a weird bar that kind of like is in the middle of my butt. It's not a pleasant feeling. However, the seats are heated and cooled seats are literally the best thing ever. All right, so we have a 9-inch central touchscreen. It's called the Sensus system. Now, it has a very large learning curve, as I've discovered. There are 3 screens, I think, and you scroll back and forth, and you've got like a main screen with 4 apps, and one of the apps is rotating depending on the previous app that you just used out of the secondary screen. Climate control systems are all integrated into the screen, which is fine. They're fairly quick and snappy, but I kind of would like an actual physical button to push for heated seats and steering wheel. Going into a menu is annoying. Sorry, I mean it is. The result, though, is a very, very clean looking dashboard. The actual fascia in the front here is just clean, 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 clean. There's one knob and a home button. Okay, so this central screen here, navigation works well. Apple CarPlay, probably the coolest thing about Apple CarPlay in this one is that if you connect your phone to it, you have the Apple CarPlay at the bottom, the regular screen that you always see in other cars, but you've also got your apps up top, so you can toggle back and forth without going like back to a main screen, because the screen is big enough, 8 inches, as I said, right? So we also have a sound experience location. Now that's because this car has the Bowers & Wilkins sound system, which is without a doubt one of the nicest sound systems that I've ever used, not even in a car, in ever, right? It's so clear. Absolute clarity in the highs and the lows. The mid-range is punchy if you want it to be, and if you don't, there's a full EQ that you can adjust up and down. So it also has something called studio mode, individual stage, and concert hall. The concert hall is there to mimic the reverb of the Gothenburg Concert Hall in Sweden. And it comes with a fancy little picture on my dial here. And the individual stage, which is the one that I seem to use the most, you can actually adjust the intensity and the envelopment of the sound around you. It's really, really good. I was listening to the 1812 Overture by Tchaikovsky, which I used to test because it has cannons that goes off at the end, and the thump from the cannons going off and the orchestra is just, it's in here. It's unbelievable. It's really, really, really good.
The technology doesn't end there, because the V90 can include some pretty sophisticated driver aids.
And I can adjust with a single button how close or far I want the car to follow with the pilot assist or the adaptive cruise control. Now, this system is scary at first. If you've never used it, it's a little bit nerve-wracking, actually. You know what I'll do? I'm going to go into traffic right now, and we will try it, and I will show you what it's like. Okay, so I am turning the pilot assist on. Okay, pilot assist is completely on right now. You're supposed to keep a hand on the steering wheel. And I am not steering the car. My feet are off the brake and the gas. Okay, there's a red light coming up. See how long it takes to detect that there's something coming. Scary, scary. Brake, 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 brake. The car is braking. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. That's cool. There you go. On the highway, it actually works really well. It's actually kind of relaxing. At first, it's annoying and scary because you're so used to giving the car inputs. But once you just relax a little bit and trust the insanity that is Volvo safety, you actually get a pretty comfortable car to drive on the highway. Now, compared to what I normally drive every day, which is like an old 2007 Subaru with a manual transmission, or my BMW, which is even worse to drive in traffic, this is essentially like driving around in a well-cushioned grand piano.
The V90 also has park assist. While it can be quite finicky sometimes, when you get it right, it works really well.
This first screen here, there's a lot of apps, okay? Okay, park in. Okay, click park in. Scanning right, keep close to spots. So it tells me, slot found, stop to park. Okay, I have selected parallel parking, not perpendicular. Select reverse gear. Okay, look around, check for objects. My hands are off the wheel. Okay, it is parking for me. And now I go into drive. Okay, yeah. And, oh, okay, so it goes until it hits the curb, then you select drive, and it parked me. Okay, I didn't do that. That's cool. Now, as for gas, let's look at my fuel mileage right now after driving around. Oh, I turned the radio on by accident. That changes the station. Oops. Still haven't got, there's a lot of controls in this car, still haven't got the hang of it. Okay, bring that up. Oh, there we go. My average liters per 100 kilometer are 11.7 liters per 100 kilometers.
Which is actually quite good, considering the mass of the vehicle and the torque on tap.
Now again, the interior of this car, for me, is what wins it. Even if the drivetrain was bad, even if it was too slow, even if it looked bad from the outside, this is one of my all-time favorite car interiors that I've ever sat in. I absolutely love the way that they've done this. You know what I hated was really highly polished, like red wood in cars. That was a trend a little while ago, and I'm glad that it's gone because I'm very, very sick of it. That and excessive amounts of black gloss. I see that a lot in cars still, and there is some black gloss in this, but it's very, very minimal, just enough to make certain parts of the car shine. But open pore walnut, that is an amazingly awesome thing to put on the dashboard of a car. And Volvo, I commend you for that, because it's just classy to look in. I feel like I'm underdressed when I'm driving in this car.
Sadly, I didn't get a chance to test the all-wheel drive system, which I've heard is very good. But I can tell you that while the car does feel as big as it looks sometimes, power delivery is smooth, and it feels very planted on the road. After a week in this car, I truly did not want to return it. It was just a lovely thing to operate every day, and every time I drove it, I grew more and more fond of how it felt and how it made me feel.